I thought she ruined my marriage. So I messaged her. I'm his wife. She went quiet, then said, wait, he told me you were gone. That's when. It started in the most normal way possible. I was at our apartment in Seattle, sitting at the kitchen counter trying to finish a design revision for a client. My laptop froze again, so I grabbed David's. He always said I could use it. I opened it, logged in, and before I even got to my files, a message notification popped up in the corner of the screen. Emily. I didn't recognize the name. I probably should have just ignored it, but I didn't. Something about it felt off in a way I couldn't explain. Another message came in right after. I miss you. I stared at it longer than I should have. My chest tightened, but I still wasn't fully there yet. Not until I clicked it. The conversation opened, and it wasn't just one message. It was weeks of them. Late nights. Inside jokes. Plans. The kind of tone that doesn't happen overnight. Comfortable. Familiar. Intimate in a way that didn't belong to me anymore. I scrolled. I hate pretending everything's fine at home. That line made everything click. There was no confusion after that. No benefit of the doubt. I knew exactly what I was looking at. I didn't cry. I didn't even move for a while. I just kept reading like maybe I'd find something that made it less real. I didn't. At some point, I stopped reading and just sat there staring at the screen. My first instinct should have been to confront David. That would have been the normal reaction. But it wasn't what I did. I focused on her. Emily. That name became the entire problem in my head. Not him. Not us. Her. I opened a browser and searched for her. It didn't take long. Same name, same face as the profile picture in the messages. She worked as a receptionist at a small office in downtown Seattle. Her profiles were public. Clean. Normal. The kind of person you wouldn't think twice about if you passed her on the street. That made it worse. She didn't look like someone who would knowingly get involved with a married man. But I didn't question that thought. I didn't want to. I messaged her that same night. I kept it simple. Hey, I think we need to talk. She replied almost immediately. Who is this? I stared at the screen for a second, then typed it out without thinking. I'm David Taylor's wife. There was a long pause. Long enough that I stood up and started pacing across the kitchen. I checked my phone every few seconds, waiting. Then her reply came in. Wait, what? That was all it took for something in me to snap. I sent screenshots. Not everything. Just enough to make it clear I knew. Another pause. Then she replied. I didn't know. I stared at that message, and it felt like the most predictable lie in the world. Of course she didn't know. That's what people say when they get caught. I didn't respond. I blocked her immediately. That should have been the end of it. I should have confronted my husband right then and there. But I didn't. Because at that point, I had already decided what this was. She knew. She chose him anyway. And I was going to make sure she didn't just walk away from it. Over the next few days, I didn't say anything to David. I watched him instead. The way he acted like everything was normal. The way he still kissed me goodbye before work like nothing had changed. It made something in me harden. I went back to her profile. Then her workplace. Then everything connected to her. It was all easy to find if you knew where to look. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I told myself I was just exposing the truth. So I sent an anonymous email to her office. No threats. No dramatic language. Just a few screenshots and one sentence. Thought you should be aware of one of your employees' personal conduct. I stared at the send button for a long time before clicking it. Once I did, I felt something I didn't expect. Relief. Like I had taken control of something that had been taken from me. A week later, her profile went quiet. Then it disappeared completely. And instead of feeling satisfied, I felt restless. Because David was still there. Still acting normal. Still sitting across from me at dinner like nothing had changed. And I couldn't stand it. So I unblocked her. And I messaged her again. I hope you're proud of yourself. This time, she replied. I told you I didn't know. I ended it the second you messaged me. I didn't believe her. Or maybe I refused to. You destroyed my marriage, I wrote back. Her response came faster this time. No. He did. That message sat there on my screen, and for a second, something in me hesitated. But I pushed it down. I kept messaging her. Not threats. Not exactly. Just enough to remind her I existed. Enough to make sure she didn't move on like nothing happened. Eventually, she stopped responding. Completely. And I told myself that meant I won. But deep down, something about it didn't feel like a win at all. I kept telling myself I was done after she stopped replying. That I'd made my point. That she got what she deserved. That I could finally focus on my marriage. But nothing actually changed. David still woke up at the same time every morning. Still checked his phone before getting out of bed. Still kissed me on the cheek like it meant something. Still asked normal questions like, what do you want for dinner, as if nothing underneath us had shifted. And I played along. I answered him. I smiled when I needed to. I didn't confront him. Not because I forgave him. Because I wasn't ready to lose control yet. That's the part one didn't admit to myself at the time. It wasn't about fixing anything. It was about control. I kept checking Emily's accounts even after she disappeared. Every few days. Then every day. Like I was waiting for proof that she was still out there, still affected. Eventually, I found a new profile. Different username. Same face. No posts. No job listed. Nothing personal. It should have been enough for me to stop. It wasn't. I didn't message her again after that. Not directly. But I kept watching. And I kept replaying everything she said. I didn't know. I ended it. No. He did. That last one stuck more than I wanted it to. Because it didn't feel like a lie. It felt calm. Certain. Like she wasn't trying to defend herself anymore, just stating something I didn't want to hear. So I pushed harder in the only direction that still made sense to me. I doubled down on blaming her. I went back to the messages between her and David. I read them again, slower this time. Looking for anything that proved she knew. Anything that justified what I did. There were moments where she asked questions. Small ones. Are you sure this is okay? You said things were complicated at home. I don't want to get in the middle of something. At the time, I read those as fake concern. Like, she was pretending to care while still going along with it. But the more I read them, the less confident I felt about that. And I hated that feeling. So I stopped reading. I focused on David instead. I started noticing things I ignored before. How often he took his phone with him, even to the bathroom. How he angled his screen slightly away from me when he was texting. How he stayed up later than usual, saying he had work stuff. It was all there. I just hadn't wanted to see it. One night, I almost confronted him. He was sitting on the couch scrolling through something, completely relaxed. I stood in the doorway for a while just watching him, trying to build up the words. I even imagined how it would go. I know about Emily. Simple. Direct. But I didn't say it. Instead, I walked back into the kitchen and pretended I forgot why I went there. Because saying it out loud would make it real in a way I couldn't control anymore. And as long as I didn't say it, I still had time. Still had space to decide how this would end. Or at least that's what I told myself. Days turned into weeks. We kept going through the motions like nothing was wrong. Work, dinner, small talk, sleep. But everything felt different. Like we were both standing on something cracked, just pretending it wasn't going to break. And then one afternoon, everything shifted. David came home earlier than usual. I heard the door open while I was still working at the table. His footsteps were slower. He didn't call out like he normally did. Something felt off immediately. I looked up, and the first thing I noticed was his face. Not guilty. Not defensive. Just tired. Like something had already been decided. He dropped his keys on the counter and stood there for a second before looking at me. Can we talk? My chest tightened instantly. This was it. The moment I'd been avoiding. I nodded without saying anything. We sat down across from each other, the same place we always ate dinner. Except now neither of us touched anything on the table. He took a breath, like he was trying to steady himself. I messed up. Those two words landed heavier than everything I had already seen. I met someone a few months ago, he continued. It started at work. It wasn't supposed to go anywhere, but it did. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. I told her I was separated. That was the first time my expression changed. Separated. Not unhappy. Not struggling. Not distant. Separated. Like I wasn't even there. I was going to tell you, he said quickly. I just didn't know how to bring it up without making everything worse. I finally spoke. What's her name? I already knew the answer. I just needed to hear him say it. Emily. It still hit the same. Then he said something that made everything in my chest tighten in a completely different way. She ended it. I blinked. What? She found out I wasn't actually separated, he said. She said she didn't want anything to do with it once she knew the truth. I didn't react right away. My mind was already moving somewhere else. What exactly did you tell her? I asked. He hesitated for a second. I told her things at home were basically over. That we were just figuring out logistics. Logistics. That's what he reduced me to. I forced myself to ask the next question. Did you ever tell her you were still with me? He shook his head. Not really. I avoided it. That answer settled something in me I didn't want settled. Because suddenly, her words weren't just defensive anymore. They made sense. I didn't know. I ended it. No. He did. All of it lined up in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. And for the first time since this started, I felt something other than anger. Something heavier. Something closer to guilt. But I didn't say any of that out loud. I just sat there across from him, realizing that everything I'd done up to that point had been based on something that might not even be true. I didn't tell him what I did. That's the part that sits with me the most now. He finished talking and just sat there, waiting for me to react. Waiting for anger, yelling, something loud enough to match what he just admitted. But I didn't give him that. I nodded. Not because I accepted it. Because I needed a second to hold everything together. Okay, I said. That was it. Just that. He looked confused, like he expected more. I'm sorry, he added quickly. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. I watched him for a second, trying to match the man in front of me with the messages I had read. The one who said he hated pretending. The one who made me sound like something temporary. You told her we were separated, I said. He nodded. I didn't think it would go this far. That line almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it felt so small compared to everything that already happened. Nothing else got said that night. We stayed in the same apartment, just moving around each other like strangers, trying not to bump into something fragile. Later, I sat alone at the kitchen counter again, staring at my phone. I opened Emily's new profile. Same blank page. Same silence. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to attack her. I felt something worse. I thought about the email I sent to her workplace. The screenshots. The way I pushed and pushed even after she told me she didn't know. I thought about her disappearing. And I couldn't ignore the connection anymore. I tried to tell myself it wasn't my fault. That she still chose to be involved. That she should have asked more questions. But none of that felt solid anymore. Because David had already answered the part one didn't want to question. He lied. Not just to me. To her too. And I built everything I did on the assumption that she knew. I didn't sleep much that night. Or the nights after that. David tried to act like we could start fixing things. He suggested therapy. Said we should talk more. Be honest. I agreed. Not because I felt ready, but because I didn't know what else to do. We started seeing Laura Harris the next week. Clean office. Neutral tone. The kind of place that makes everything feel smaller and bigger at the same time. She asked simple questions. How are you feeling? What do you need right now? I gave simple answers. I don't know. Time. David talked more. Apologized more. Explained more. I sat there and listened, but half of me wasn't even in the room. Because every time he said, I hurt you, my mind went somewhere else. To someone who didn't even know me. Someone I went after anyway. One session, Laura asked something that stayed with me. Is there anything you're holding back that might be affecting how you process this? I felt it immediately. That pressure in my chest. Because there was something. A lot of something. But I didn't say it. Not really, I answered. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't just dealing with what David did anymore. I was dealing with what I did after. Weeks passed. Things between us got quieter. Not better. Just less sharp. We talked more. Ate dinner together again. Tried to rebuild something that didn't feel stable yet. Some days I thought maybe we could fix it. Other days I looked at him and felt nothing. Not anger. Not love. Just distance. And in the middle of all that, Emily stayed gone. No updates. No posts. Nothing. Like she stepped out of everything completely. I tried to find something. Anything. A sign she was okay. Or even just still living normally. There was nothing. And that silence started to feel heavier than everything else. Because I didn't know if it was just coincidence. Or if I was part of the reason. One night, I almost told David. We were sitting in the living room, the TV on but neither of us paying attention. He looked over at me and said, we're going to get through this. I don't know why that was the moment. Maybe because he sounded so sure. Maybe because he had no idea what I was holding on to. I need to tell you something, I started. He turned fully toward me. What is it? I opened my mouth. And then I stopped. Because saying it out loud would change everything again. It wouldn't just be his mistake anymore. It would be mine too. So I shook my head. Nothing. It's not important. He didn't push. He just nodded and leaned back, like that was enough. But it wasn't. Not for me. Because I kept thinking about how easy it was for me to decide she was the problem. How fast I moved. How far I went without ever stopping to question if I was wrong. And now I'm sitting here, across from my husband, trying to rebuild something that might not even work. While somewhere out there is a woman who disappeared from her own life. And I don't know if I helped push her out of it. I thought I was getting revenge. I thought I was taking control. But the truth is, I never went after the person who actually betrayed me. I went after the one who was easiest to blame. Now I'm still here, sitting across from the man who lied to both of us, trying to rebuild something that already broke. And she's gone. No posts. No updates. No trace of the life she had before. And I don't know if she disappeared because of him. Or because of me. That's the part one can't fix. That's the part one can't undo. So now I'm stuck living with two truths at the same time. He destroyed our marriage. And I might have destroyed someone who didn't even know she was part of it. Was I justified? Or did I just become worse than the person who actually hurt me?